Yeah, I think I do.
All right, cool. All right, we're back.
We're
Um,
back. It's been a bit.
I guess we're calling this season 3 here.
Season 3. Look at that. We made it season 3. What episode? I don't even know. I don't even know if the last episode really went out.
I don't
Uh,
know. Probably in the 60s.
yeah, which is dope. We're gonna get to 100 regardless. If no one listens to this, we're gonna get to 100. We're not 100% sure on the focus of what everybody likes or there, but honestly, it's just one of those things. Once a week, I like catching up with Trevor, and let's just record catching up with Trevor. Maybe that's what we should change this to. Catching up with Trevor.
I just I'm right there with you. I just chatted with a coworker at another company who I worked with for a couple years now. He's a good friend of mine. At this point, he's like, dude, what happened to the pod? You know, and I was like, well, we just took a little break with the holiday and reorganized some stuff here. He's like, yeah, dude, you guys got to keep producing that. I miss having a weekly episode to listen to. So,
No
dude, we got
kidding.
some. I kid you not. We got some loyal following here. We at least have a couple
That
people
is hilarious.
that are loyal. Yeah,
Well,
that's not a lie either. Literally just got off the call with them.
that's funny.
Yeah,
That's great. That's definitely encouraging knowing that there are people listening to it, but it's the momentum of it all.
no doubt.
Just getting it out there. But like I said, man, I like just catching up with someone else that is in the industry with similar value alignment.
Yep.
That it's just helpful. It's kind of like a therapy session. Maybe we should call it like the marketing therapist session.
I totally, especially now, like, I don't know. I I know we were want to chat about like just some like agency stuff and
Yeah, I got some
agency
ideas.
building stuff and that type of deal. But I do think now, especially with like AI and everything, it really is nice to like chat through some strategy stuff with you and have like a good idea of like, I don't know, some stuff that you guys are testing and how you're thinking about, the longevity of the business and just in general. Um, Down to take this wherever, but I do
Yeah.
think I do think AI has been one of those things that's been a little bit more, top of mind for me as of late here. I've recently listened to um, Chris Sacca. He went on Tim Ferriss's podcast and really long pod in general. It was like I think it was like 3.5 hours. But they did get into AI and their thoughts on just general impact of how many jobs it's going to impact and what that's going to look like for the society as a whole. And I think for us, like the more and more I think about it, I do think the landscape of search, like if you're running just a traditional enterprise level search campaigns, probably can have some pretty massive impact here in the next couple of years. Um, but I do think I have some positive thoughts here as well that I don't know, maybe paints a better picture overall. But I think that's one thing that's been top of mind for me as
Okay.
of late here is just general AI and its impacts. But I also know we wanted to talk about just like you know agency stuff and just infrastructure for agency life and
I think I can
what you're working
segue
on.
the AI and agency stuff together. Um, because I was talking with Ricardo, was it last week or the week before? Even on um, how we both separately use AI in our day to day. And it's actually kind of an interesting question. Like, hey man, how often? Like, imagine like these AI platforms were gone. Like, how would your day change? Just to see like how much you're actually using it. So I'll ask you that question, Trevor. Like, if it went away, would it drastically be like crap? Would you just be like downer because if you've integrated it so much in your processes?
I would say so. I think I could probably adapt and figure some stuff out. But yeah, I would say so. I'd say the biggest thing is it's just such like a time saver for some critical tasks,
Time saving,
like
100%. It's
keyword
not that it's
research.
doing the job; it's saving time. I don't know, maybe that doesn't
No
make
doubt
sense,
about it.
but there's still like that critical thought that has to happen by us. But like just some of this execution of like, hey man, can you wrap these keywords instead of a list? Do it this way instead, or can you put it into a table? This like, there's some things that would just be like, I don't know, just manual monkey work, like just keyboard
No
warrior
doubt.
stuff that takes time. That's been super helpful from saving time. So in theory, you could work on other things and do more work. So, but so we were also talking about that, the way that we both independently work on AI, can we bring it together for some of our clients? And so the idea was because there's the ChatGPT Pro, you can share like projects together and you can have your own little portal. So let's say, Trevor, me and you are working on a client together. I give you a, I don't know, Collective 42 ChatGPT account. You log in, and there'd be folders like you have anything else. And it's got everything logged in from the client in these projects, from like every kickoff call that's happened, any notes. It would be a repository for it. Same thing. Maybe we scrape our Basecamp and put it in there somehow, especially with the new operator tool that maybe we can scrape stuff in, put it in. So it's like a central repository. So if we do anything or we need help with anything, we start it in that thread that has the knowledge of the client to process things through. Because we all, right now, me and Ricardo independently have kind of repositories for clients that we build off knowledge bases of. So that was one thing that we were talking about, maybe consolidating that so
I
everybody's on
think
the
that's
same
really
page.
cool.
And I could see that at like a large agency. Like I'd be doing that tomorrow. Like, hey guys, everybody's getting an account. We're having repositories for everything for our clients. You're all using the same thread for if you're doing something with client interactions, just going to learn over time. So that I think would be something is positive from an agency perspective to do.
Maybe just and I don't know if you have other thoughts there, but just a question on that piece because I think that makes a lot of sense and I really like that. And I really do like the idea about, you know, you have a thread or you can give the tool instructions and it just never forgets. It always has that context and then it learns and improves over time. I think that's a really powerful aspect of the tool. In regards to like collaborating with a teammate and everything, are you saying like say you have like SEO, paid search, and analytics, like a standard like account. Are you
Mm-hmm.
saying there would be like a keyword research thread, and then search team members would just all collaborate on keyword research tasks, and then an analytics thread, and like they would just so instead of or are you saying like clients would be interacting in those threads
No, so
there as well?
client's
Like
not
what do you
interacting. It's just internally
got
for
it?
it all. So
Okay.
yeah, like within a project, you'd upload everything, but yeah, then you'd have separate threads. Maybe it is keyword research, or maybe it's SEO, just split up by
Like title
discipline.
tags in one
Yeah,
thread.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, right. And you're
Yeah.
kind of cranking them out that way, but it like learns inherently like what's going on, and you can see what the other person's doing. But let's say, dude, you did like a keyword build, like say, let's say I did an SEO keyword build. You're going in and you're starting your keyword ideation process. You could tap it and say, hey, can you look at, based on what you know, can you look at, what this document, what Steve did on his SEO keyword research to help me ideate for campaign structures for a Google ad campaign and keywords. And it could
That
reference
makes
it.
a lot of sense.
I mean, Google
Yeah.
has, I think Gemini will get there and do this. It's not doing it right now, but you can reference things in Gemini right now that are uploaded into your Google Drive. So it's kind of like that central repository of things. But I just haven't seen anything that really incorporates all the items into one hub. It doesn't have to be ChatGPT. You could build this on your own if you wanted to, whatever. But
Yep.
ChatGPT just makes it easier to do so. But yeah, you basically just got to give it everything, and then it can really help just from an efficiency. Like, because I was talking, like the idea was like, man, we know everything about our client. It's spread out digitally all over the place for us, be it in Google Drive, be it in Basecamp, be it in Slack. And what's the conduit that connects it all? It's your brain.
Yep.
It's us, our inherent knowledge of the client and situation. So if we could somehow connect it all and then, it make it a little bit easier, I think, from a consistency standpoint. Because I'm also thinking like, okay, large scale agency, you got a new person that coming on an account. You could literally go to that thread and be like, can you give me like, I don't know, what's happened in the last 6 months
Like
on the
give me
account?
background context
Yeah,
on
exactly. Instead of
what's
like
been done.
coming to talk to me about it and like I'll tell you my story and that's still going to be valuable. You have like a digital record of it. So I think that is definitely a spot for
Really like that.
agencies that need to do that at scale, because then someone's coming in on the account, they're brand new, etc. It's all there. I mean, think about when you started at a new agency, it's like trying to learn account. Like you're talking to the account manager. Maybe they've only been there for 3 to 6 months. You don't know what happened 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And this thing would start to log everything, even from the sales kickoff. So you would know the whole history of it all, because you could upload your sales transcripts in there of the conversations that have happened. And so it can learn from like day one of what's going on. I think that could be really helpful.
I think that's really sick. But I also, it's the weirdest thing. Like there's when I talk about AI or think about AI, it's like that is so sick, that's so cool, and I see how much benefit that would be. You could lose any team member on the account. Like, hey, it's not that big a deal because we have, this tool that remembers everything and has all the context that we need. So new member gets placed on the account, they're right up to speed. Nothing was dropped there. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, like that just took away 70% of like the project manager's job. And like, so it's like I always go back to that of like,
Sure. What's the cost of
what's
the
the impact to
humanity?
humans?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's always this like um argument of, well, there's been a ton of technological advancements in history. Humans adapt. We'll always think about something else, or hey, it'll give us time back to then think about something else. But then I'm thinking, is that true in this instance? And Saka said on Tim Ferriss' podcast, which I thought was pretty interesting, the speed of which the advancements happen in AI and how they are right now, it is exponentially faster than any other advancements prior, where humans, it's just impossible to keep up with. And there's going to be
Yeah.
significant job loss because of that. So it's like that's sick in one instance, but then it's like, well, an agency that used to need 5 project managers really only needs 1 now, just to have some oversight there and to make sure things are running smoothly. And is that a net positive for agencies moving forward? I think if you're an agency owner, like you're in a great spot, like I really do, because I think there's going to be a ton of tools and a ton of, marketing, websites that like whatever you're doing, there's that work still needed. But building a larger agency, I think that's going to have a significant impact moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's still something to be said, and I've joked around about it, where a lot of, as an agency over the years, a lot of what matters to our clients is the relationship, the human
Yep.
side of things,
Yep.
right? And managing those personalities, be it positive or negative, to be honest. When something's maybe a little bit rocky, trying to figure out how to fix that. But it's all like the relationship style of things. Like AI is not going to be able to touch that whatsoever. And it's a large part of our job to do so. So I still think like that project management role is going to be valid. Does it reduce the amount of people you have? I'm not sure, because I think that you can't scale that human touch
Yeah.
um, on it all. Because I think that's what's going to separate some of the other agencies, that maybe you do have this awesome machine in the background that's going to help out production people possibly, and that's maybe where the reduction happens. But the human side should still be invested, because people want that connection until there's a moment in time. And I think I've talked about this in the past, where whatever the AI technology becomes undistinguishable from, or it sounds just like a human, like us talking right now on a client call, then that will oversee that. And then we're in a really dangerous spot where like you couldn't tell, like right now I'm an AI avatar talking to you because I've uploaded everything I know about Steve, my personality, past conversations. And Trevor right now is talking to a bot. When that happens, we're screwed. It hasn't tricked people yet.
But I could totally see it getting to that point there. Just like testing some social tools, and some like user generated type content. There's some stuff out there where it's like that's impossible to really tell at this point that's not even a real person and that's not even a real human talking. Um,
Yeah, I
so you
guess
could
the
totally see
first
a world.
litmus test, I think it's the litmus test is the right way to look at it. It's LinkedIn. You know how much fucking stupid AI posts are out of like everybody posting stuff? Until there's an AI bot that happens, that I can't tell it's not an AI bot, or at least assisted by an AI. Because sure, I use some AI to help with some posts, and you actually know, and you can't tell, then that's gonna be my first like canary in the coal mine scenario. Because I hate LinkedIn with all these automated posts and the comments. There's a couple comments that I'll get, and it's like the same dude. If you hashtag AI or something on it, it's like the same reply back, and I'm gonna reply back to him with like a winky smiley face. I'm like, dude, I know you're a bot.
That's so
Anyways,
weird. Just a little side tangent. I'm like totally off LinkedIn. I'm just done with the platform.
so
You feeling
it
similar?
got funky Like all of a sudden I feel like well, I'm not even part of this. Ricardo was talking about it, but you were telling me about this, like where you have like more like reels type stuff on the phone.
On mobile. Yeah.
Yeah, on mobile. I don't have access to that. On desktop, it's just a traditional, but I could see how annoying it is because it's like all these kind of like self help guru business people, and they got kind of political too. And I'm like, I just don't know if it's really anything genuine. I'll check the feed. I don't check that as often. I don't feel as compelled to share because I feel like it's just a lot of bullshit that's now in there. I've always felt that way, but like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. There definitely has been a vibe shift on the platform, no doubt about it.
Okay, so I'm not crazy that there
No
has been a
doubt.
vibe shift on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll check it just to see if like, I got any messages or anything like that or any new connections or I don't know. Sometimes there are some like interesting updates in people's careers or just, there's a couple people that, do post some valuable stuff, but a lot of
I
it's just like workout videos, politics, just like like the same script in a post.
yeah.
Like it just I don't know. Maybe that's just like the natural evolution of like some social platforms where at a certain point people are just like, hey, I just want to become an influencer, so then I'm just going to use
Yeah,
all these
that's what it
templates.
is. I think you nailed it. Influencer,
Yeah,
right? I didn't even think about that as the right word, but it's like that's all I see in that feed is influencers, be it for, like you said, health related or like work related. And they're trying to be an influencer. And I'm like seeing the stuff that they're posting. I'm like, okay. I guess the only time I try to post it, I guess I'll do it this year. I'll post only when I have like I don't know, it's my kind of person, like kind of a smart ass take on something, you know, um, a little humor, you know. I think that's probably the only time. But I know we were super hot on doing LinkedIn as a way to possibly get business. We had talked about it being a remarketing tool for people that we have contacted or worked with in the past. I still think that has
still think there's value
value,
there, no doubt.
but I think it's gotten cluttered with all this influencer that even those people that we had worked with in the past, when they log in, they probably see this crap too. So they might be checking it less. So it's
No
not
doubt
that
about it.
real channel on on there. It's just a bunch of crap. So they're not checking it as much. So that valuable of the kind of non-click marketing, zero-click marketing stuff we were talked about. I don't know. I will say doing it a lot more in the last year and a half, 2 years. Did it really drive business? I think I had one or two opportunities come off of it.
Yeah, like a handful, a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm not there to get ego boost. I don't need to be inflated with clicks, likes, impressions, comments, where I think a lot of people are there looking for that to have some sort of self gratification on stuff. So,
so true. Well, I did want to ask too. I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but just thinking about the whole AI space and agency stuff, and where that could lead to, and how humans are still important in this whole ecosystem here. The push towards San Diego branding. I remember that was one
mm,
thing that you mentioned last week.
yeah,
I don't
that's a
know if
good
you want to
point.
get into
Yeah,
that,
we can
but
talk about that a bit for
is
sure.
that been, I don't know, maybe just speak, is that what, first off, is that your hat? Is that San Diego C42?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually have this one. We have a darker one that's all black on black. I have to send some out. We were supposed to do holiday boxes for our clients. We just got completely distracted. And then we got too far past the holidays. We're like, let's do a New Year's box. And then we're like, well, now it's way too past New Year's where it's
I
like,
like the hat. I
okay.
would definitely support.
So yeah, I want to be, we have plenty. So we just got to ship them out. So if you guys want a hat, we're giving away free hats. I'll pay for the shipping. Well, business will. So yeah, I don't know. Reach out. I'll send you hats. But yeah, I got to definitely hook you guys up with hats. But yeah, one of the items is before we kind of shifted into this because we always want to do a run of hats every year. My buddy that runs a couple different restaurants here in San Diego, one of them is Dirty Birds. They always have fun hats where they like take on logos from kind of other people and morph it into their brand. And so that was the kind of ideation. We're like, hey, let's just do something different that it's like
Like that.
represents the business, but it's just it's just not the same old logo every year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love wearing hats, obviously. So yeah, it's SD C42. We kind of
Like
went with
that.
the Roman Gothic font on it. It's a little Padre esque. The San Diego FC kind of has that vibe a little bit. So yeah, that's where. But talking about kind of targeting as an agency what we want to do. Um, you know, some of the marketing that we've been doing uh, is more tied to local kind of rankings or visibility, I will say, in like Southern California. And when you get a lead that is someone in your city versus outside your city, it's a total different vibe. It's like one more layer because you can actually go in and meet with them, which honestly is not a bad thing. I think we've gotten so far removed from like, oh, we're all digital, we can work everywhere. Sure, that's a possibility if you have that lead flow of that, but it's you also have to kind of realize like, well, where should I be fishing, and what's going to work best, and what's my highest percentages. So we're still working on this, and we're leaning towards that, of kind of like let's capture the Southern California, San Diego market for our services. Because one, when someone comes to us, we're going to have a higher close rate knowing, hey, we can come in person where the other person's not. I mean, you've probably been on accounts where they have transitioned to someone local,
No doubt.
right?
I've
That
heard that so many
happens.
times. Yep.
We're lucky enough living in San Diego, Southern California. There's enough fish in the sea for us to only have Southern California clients if we wanted to. So it's something we're going to try to nurture through.
Really
It's
like that.
like, you know where you're at. Sure, we have contractors and people that work all over the world, but like the people that own the company that are talking about the business, we can meet locally with you. We actually had an in person. That's why I couldn't do the pod last week. I had an in person sales call, and it was more of just like, hey, meet us. Let me show you my business. Walk around, and then tell me what you guys can do for me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it was an excuse to get out of the house, but it was a total. I haven't been on an in person sales pitch in forever. And I think my past history at other agencies, I don't know if they really had an idea of where they wanted to target and market to. There's like, you get any lead anywhere, we're going to go fly out and pitch them. Like I remember flying out to New York and like probably not having a chance at all of closing a deal. And I'm like, hey, I'm not investing in this, but it's probably not the best investment to do this because we're probably not going to get this close. And dude, there's no way we're punching up our weight class. And it was like, why are we going to New York? Sure, we have a couple clients out there, but it's like, we're not New York based.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that has been working well. Just our close rate is a lot higher knowing that, hey, I don't know. And honestly, we have that kind of SoCal vibe too. And sometimes that does clash with East Coast.
I
I'll
could
put
see
it out
that.
there. It just happens.
Yeah, I
Like
could totally see that.
where it's like, I don't know, man. Some of the East Coast people that I've worked with on sales calls where they're just like yell at you. And I'm like, where
A
are
little more
you
like
yelling?
rigid.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
little more emotional about it all. We're really like, chill, man. Give us some time. We're going to figure this out.
Could
We got
totally
good
see that.
vibes. Anyways,
I really like that push there, and curious how that pans out. I'm sure. I don't know. I think tying that back to AI thing. I think there's probably going to be a push for people who really like human interaction, and push against that, and would prefer to meet in person and prefer to shake somebody's hand and like actually know that you know they're in their community there. I listened to um I listened to an interview with Thomas Massey not too long ago, and he made a really interesting point about this was like in regards to like working with local business owners, and he was like, "There's way more accountability there because you're going to see that person in your community and be like, why did you
that's so
give me
true.
bad meat?" As opposed to a national major corporation, you're never going to talk to anybody at the company.
Yep.
So I do think there's like something to be said about like accountability in local areas and local
I'll track you
communities.
down and I'll find you. You might bump into somebody. Can't rip me off. No, I mean I think that's true. Thomas Matt, he's what is it, senator? Is he senator? I don't know.
Kentucky.
Kentucky, right? Yeah, he's got that crazy cool house that he's built, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. We had talked about him before.
really interesting story.
Libertarian, yeah,
Big time.
and he wears that budget counter deficit. Um,
Yeah.
I think he gave a bunch of those badges to like freshman Congress people coming in,
Yep.
but
He's a
interesting.
really interesting guy. So I think overall, agency wise, I wanted to at least touch on the San Diego piece, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Anything
Yeah.
else like AI wise, like in the agency world?
Um, I mean, there's the operator tool that came out, which I talked a little bit about.
Have you used it at all?
No, because you have to have the pro account, which is $200 a month, which I don't mind spending, but I'd rather have like the pro account that I can then share my folders. Like it's kind of separate. I'm like, can I just get both?
I think it's coming. I saw
So
something the other day about that.
okay, well if that happens, and yeah, no, but I haven't. But I've talked to other people. I know one person that has and said it was pretty interesting. It's a little slow when doing crawling and stuff like that, but that's how big there's so many possibilities with that. I think Google has one that's going to come out called Magellan, something similar. It's kind of catchy. But like having bots that crawl the web, and it's kind of like doing your web surfing for you from a marketing standpoint. I mean, the things are endless. Trying to game the system or get competitive
No
research.
doubt.
I mean, these are all things that can be done before, but it's like a lot of people aren't smart enough to build scrapers or crawlers or anything. They just need this. This kind of breaks that, I don't know, third wall or whatever they call it, to like we can move the bot out of its shell and into the world to
No
do
doubt.
items. So it's like the first step of like an AI robot coming in and breaking into the internet and doing what you're doing. I mean, you could do things like, hey, go through Basecamp and tell me if any projects are out of date based on things, or what tickets have not been reviewed for forever. You could do that. It could monitor an inbox, right? Potentially on email.
Yep.
Hey, monitor this inbox. This new email comes in. If you distinguish it's a customer service related to, please reply back to it. You could even immediately, and you can get that done. You can tell your clients like, hey, we do have a layer of AI project management that happens. That they're the first lines of defense for the accounts. But no, we do have humans behind it. So there's some things that are really, really interesting, but it's just getting that mind space or head space to see, okay, I got actual client work to do or new business development and running the company to say, okay, what can I do with this operator tool from a day to day? But you kind of have to have like a first use case and work with it. So that's the other big update I've seen is that operator.
Yeah, I heard it's going to. I heard they're going to integrate it into whatever you call like the standard $20 a month account
Yeah, I
because
can see
of
that over time.
like the DeepSeek,
The deep seek rush.
that whole tool that was released there. Apparently, that's like put some pressure on OpenAI to then do some product releases,
Release.
and
It's getting a
apparently
little
like that
weird.
just completely wiped out the whole news cycle for Operator, and apparently it just didn't have a great launch because that
Interesting.
news kind of dropped there. So I think because of that, that's going to then have Operator be available to like your um, standard GPT accounts.
Dude, I don't know. That's like ramping up the competition that much faster. So change is going to happen that much faster.
Yeah, yeah,
That
no
does
doubt.
make me a little nervous as far as how fast change is going to happen.
The thing that's crazy is like you could really see a world where like if you're talking about Operator of like, hey, go out and do these tasks for me online, go out and book me a trip, go check these base camp tickets, go do whatever. Um, there's also right now you could have tools that'll like help build you an app completely and do the code for you and everything. So you could literally
It's
see
like
a
a fucking
world
magic
where,
machine.
yeah, you could
I
see a
want this.
world
Make this.
exactly, and it does it. But I was gonna say like you could totally see an AI that can build a whole company by itself, a whole software service by itself. Like I feel like we're almost heading towards a point where
Build your own
you could
tools.
have, and especially too, if like like if you want to call it sentient or whatever, you could have an AI that's like say you have like some AI operator tool and it works for Meta or works for a company, and then that AI tool notices, hey, there's a major gap in this marketplace. Let me go build Stripe or let me go build whatever, and then it just goes out and does it, and then you have a multi-billion, multi-trillion-dollar company that was just built by an AI that's just ran by an AI. Like I don't,
It's
who
not
knows how
too
close
far
that
fetched.
is, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That's the thing that like I get like a little, I don't know, negative or a little anxious thinking about AI in the sense that could we be 10 years away from now where Google is ran by Sergey and Larry, and that's it. And then they're just like literally AIing. They're just like chatting. They're literally just talking to an AI. Hey, go out and do this. Hey, go out and do that. Hey, fix this code. Hey, do that. Hey, do that. And you don't need anybody. Like
It's possible.
that's the thing that like really
We're just starting to
concerns
see the
me.
glimpses of it with these tools like Operator
Yeah.
coming out, and you're like, ooh, that's really interesting. Because like even the idea of like folding all the clients into folders, etc. Imagine if you had a different role and it's like a sentient AI that their job is like, you're the CEO of this company. Pretend you're the CEO of the company. Monitor these threads, and tell me where something's going wrong, something can be improved. Bring awareness to the accounts. What needs to be like, dude? That's something where like it takes me and Ricardo's roles away because we have to do that manually at this point. But at least giving us heads up. Where yeah, to a point where you could run it all. Yeah, you could have a whole machine built and run by AI solely. It's not far fetched.
It's really
Um,
not far-fetched at
I mean,
all.
think about it, right? I just had an idea of like, oh, this operator tool. You know what you could build? You could build a tool that goes in and checks your Google Ad spends on all your clients' accounts every day and records it as far as spend pacing for all the platforms and puts it in an Excel sheet, right? You literally could create your own budget pacer in there. And it could theoretically, if you're comfortable with it enough, have it adjust bids and stuff to pace items,
So I
right?
do
There's tools
think
already that do that, but they cost a lot of money. You could just build it yourself and it could, there you go. And that's just one piece of it. Then you have the person manipulate, hey, go in, update ad copy if its performance is down, etc. Yeah. And then there you go. You have a whole paid media team that's just all AI bots.
it's all
I mean, we should test that out of like, let's build, like, I'll build it for us, whatever. Let's have operator build a campaign and manage a campaign for us.
I think that's totally possible. I think the one thing that like we might be a little bit further away is I was chatting with somebody else and they made a pretty good point. They're like, well, you also got to think too, like when you give like these platforms total control and like with smart bidding and like automated decision making, like in accounts right now, you could have different like settings where create ad copy on my behalf or create extensions on my behalf. And then I've seen situations where clients would like then send back like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't approve this messaging. This sounds super weird. This combination made no sense.
Yeah.
So I do think there's probably going to be like some component to human oversight to be like, okay, that actually makes sense. So I do think we're a little bit away for like everything completely being
Yeah.
automated,
There's
you
also
know?
context too, right? Like, for example, I've seen PMAX campaigns or any of the AI campaigns that maybe the conversion metrics weren't set up solid and there's like a soft conversion touch point, like I don't know, like a PDF download versus a form fill, and they're set up in the account, and all of a sudden they see PDFs start to go off, and then they all of a sudden they skew the whole account to going after PDF downloads rather than form fills.
Exactly.
Right. And
That
it's like,
type of deal.
whoa, shit. I've seen that happen. Skew accounts like it, but you got to have that context, for it all. But if it gets smart enough, it's going to ask you about that context, right? And then we're in a dangerous spot. Or it's going to, like what you were saying, Trevor, is like, it's still like that human element. The moment that we can't tell it that it's AI, that's when we're in real trouble.
No doubt about it. And
You're like,
like
oh
we're
boy,
saying, hey, there still needs to be some oversight now. What happens
but
in 2, 3 years from now where AI learns from all of those
learns the
scenarios?
oversight. Yeah,
Learns
100%.
from, oh, these were the tweaks that the humans were making. Oh, this was the oversight. Oh, this was the context.
There's so
Oh,
many nuances of being a human that even our clients forget that there's nuances, like there's quirks and things like that, like
yeah,
where it's not a logic of like 1 + 1 = 2, like it like and there's just really weird scenarios of how it works. So, and I feel like AI is such a linear kind of logical thinker, where if they can break that logical thinking and be more creative in that sense and understanding stuff, that's when we're real in trouble, because that's the only human like, it's one value that we do have, that we're imperfect, and that's what helps and gives us that kind of personality in
and I
situations.
think, and I think we have, I do think again, if like you're like a CEO, if you're like a director, you got a bunch of experience and stuff. I do think like you're okay, at least for like a couple years. But I do think 5, 10 years down the line, I don't know. I That's the thing that like concerns me is like I think like computer jobs and like low level, low skill computer jobs and those types of positions, trouble. And like is that a positive for society? You know?
Yeah, it's funny because we work on the internet. I know that sounds stupid, but we work in web browsers, right? That's all we do all day long is web browser stuff. Maybe there's some programs that we have that we use, but primarily it's all web based. Operator can be web based and manipulate the web. So we truly have our first robot, AI robot here with us to work through things. And I think it's a preview of what it's going to do when it launches offline and they actually have AI robots manipulating the real world.
No doubt about it.
But we're here and it's weird. Like super weird. Because like, man, think about it, if you're coming out of college, don't get a digital marketing degree or like whatnot. Like, bro, like build a business, but not an agency. Like, sure, things that you need to do to like market stuff is going to be important to do it. It's still valuable, still there, but it's like, man, I like it'd be so difficult to even get a job in digital marketing. I feel like,
And it's even so difficult if you think about how many agencies there are and how advanced so many agencies are. You know what I mean? Just the competition alone in building an agency business is so difficult. So
yeah,
there's so like if you started this in early 2000s, way easier. You know what I mean? Now people are more privy to ads, attribution so much more difficult, privacy policies online, the amount of agencies that there are out there. Now you're talking about AI coming into the game, and it's just like that is so brutal to think about, like starting your own. That's where, I don't want this to sound super negative, this podcast, because I think there's some like bright spots, but I do think if you're like in this agency space, learning how to use some AI tools, you could like do really well for yourself for the next couple of years. But then I do think we're probably going to get to a point where like, I don't know, clients like don't see the value in agencies and like, hey, we could just do all this AI stuff in house, and like we just
it gets to the
really start
point,
to
like I said
reduce the
before, we're
workforce.
like what we do as an agency when it becomes replaced by AI that looks the same and the human can't tell,
Yeah.
then we're in big trouble. I'm not sure when that is and what. There's a lot of levers that add up to that. Um,
And then what happens when, Tesla and the Optimus robots are connected to AI and they could fix everything and build everything and you don't have to worry about a lawsuit, you don't have to worry about things not getting done right, you don't have to worry timelines on projects are significantly reduced. It's way cheaper. That's the shit that like really concerns me about this whole push towards AI is like
Yeah, you get into the physical world. Like we're the first lines of like experiencing it because literally it's just a web browser, right? Um, and so that's already been clipped, and we're working with that now. But it's like the moment it gets into the physical world and starts to replace jobs that way, that's going to be a major issue and shift.
it's
So
it's
there might
already
be
happening.
some ways of like I don't know. That's like the talk of like universal base income, etc. Like, I mean,
It's happening with Waymo, like car
yeah. I
rides.
mean,
Like if you're an Uber
imagine.
driver, trouble. If
Yeah,
you're a
it's a tough
builder,
conversation though because it's like, all right, cool. Let's say you didn't have to work. You still have to do something, right? As a human, like to stay motivated in your mindset. And maybe it's some sort of hobby or passion. And maybe it spins it to like being more kind and compassionate to others because we have more time. I think that could be a very bright side of this potentially, where it's like we don't have to necessarily worry about money and that you can be more kind and compassionate with your time. Um, but sometimes if you give someone more time, they're just going to sit around and play video games all day long. Uh, and is that healthy? You know? So that's a part where you give idle minds or whatever, idle hands, idle mind, um, could be sometimes not the best
I also
for
think like two
people.
other things there. Like one, I do think there's something to be said about, somebody who's not, the most intelligent, the most, like, hey, I'm just going to go out and build a business. Like just somebody who just wants to have a normal job and be able to pay their bills and put food on the table and provide for their family and are super stoked about that. Love their family, love contributing to their community, great person in the community, just doing what they got to do, just taking care of business on the day to day. But they're not this person who's going to be like online thinking about the next like meme coin to trade and the next technology to learn and I'm going to become a coder. Just a normal person who provides for their family. I think there's something to be said about like having people like that in your community who like take pride in like just providing for their family And
Sure.
if we then put all those people out of work, is that a positive for society? Like that's the thing that I just don't really, it just doesn't sit well with me. And then your point about, hey, if everybody gets time back, I don't know if universal basic income is going to make people feel stoked about themselves on the day-to-day basis. And like, you're just going to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like personality types, etc. I mean, the only thing I can say is like, uh, I would say I'd be able to find some fun things to do and like find satisfaction in life because I'd have more time to do things. 100%. Because it'd be like retiring, right? People say you retire and you do nothing and you just sit around. That's bullshit. Like, like, cool, money is taken care of at that point, but you got to stay busy. Like, I don't know. That's just my personality. Like, I know I'm not going to just like sit around and like do crossword puzzles all day long. Like,
I
I know I'm going to stay busy if it's like helping the community or something new. I don't know. Get into crazy like hunting scenarios or fishing or spending more time with family. Well, at that point, the kids were older, etc. I don't know. Maybe it is building some sort of small business outside of it. It's just I don't think it ever stops, man.
No, I
I don't think
totally
you don't
agree.
want it to stop.
I
And
totally
realizing that,
agree. I totally agree about the retirement piece and like not ever retiring. But then it's like, hey, well, what happens if everybody's out and we're talking to universal basic income? So does that mean you have no job, so you could do whatever you want? But does that mean you could just go travel to Europe and then you could just go fly to Europe and then you can go do this sick fishing trip and then you can go do this sick hunting trip? Is there levels to, you know what I mean? Because like
mm,
then it's like, okay, can you afford that? Well, does that universal basic income mean you have to like sit in your, you know what I mean? It's like
we need
I
to bring a
get that
universal
piece.
basic income person in to like break it down for us. Like, what does this mean? Maybe you choose to work if you get a certain amount, but then you can work over top of it. No big deal, and make
Yeah.
money. I don't know. It's a big question that
It's
I
just
don't.
so
Yeah.
I don't know, I just cannot stop thinking about it. And I don't know. I think the best thing that you could do though, you know, to maybe like round this podcast out, and I know we got to run here in a minute.
Yep.
Is I mean, I will say, Steve, I really liked your ideas around operator and like, hey, using that as a tool to scrape through Basecamp of like what tickets are open, or some of the projects that you're talking about of just like learning client history and helping with any context and onboarding. I think that's the best thing that you could do right now. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to like stop the data centers from being built. You're not going to stop the new models from coming out. So you might as well like learn how to use those tools to your advantage, especially like if you're in this agency game. And job loss is one thing, but I do think if in our position we're like smaller agency, using contractors and not a ton of like overhead in terms of like full-time employees, you could probably use AI to your benefit for the next 5 years and have like a really nice business that you're running.
Yeah.
Um, I think we talked a little bit more about like long-term existential threats that AI potentially could pose here,
Yeah.
but I do think in the next couple of years, if you're running an agency, you could really
It's a
use
good
these
time.
tools to your
It's
benefit.
a really good, interesting time to cross on certain ways. There's pluses and minuses, but um, AI has definitely changed quite a bit, and it's only
No
been
doubt.
out for what 2 years now.
Pretty much.
That's it, and
Yeah.
how much has changed. So,
Crazy.
and it's like you forget sometimes. Like, oh, it's like you remember like in your cell phone, like when you had a computer in your hand. There was a time we didn't have cell phones. And honestly, though, I mean, it kind of ended out on a cap note. Like, we are probably the front users of AI. Like, I don't know, man. Like, other people that are not in the digital space working with computers,
I try and
it's like a
remind
party.
myself of that too.
It's a
Yeah.
party trick right now.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got some time before that gets in a
Yeah.
crazier way. I think, if anything, we're probably one of the front lines of experience all this. So we might be like, the sky is falling because we just see it too much all that often and it freaks people out. So, yeah.
Totally. All right. Well, cool.
Cool.
I
All
I
right.
thought
Well,
this
we
was
wrapped it. We did the first
yeah.
episode of season 3. Easy
Yeah, and I
enough.
think we'll keep digging into like, I don't know, just general like agency life stuff, running an agency, business development, cash flow, branding,
Yeah, for
new
sure.
services, like all that type of stuff. But I thought this was a cool one.
All right. Cool, man. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, folks. Appreciate you checking it out. Let Steve know if you want a
Yeah, you want
C42
hats.
hat. All right.